Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
Okay, welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and this is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling podcast. And I know what you're thinking. What you're doing here? There's no predictions to do or PLE to talk about. That's right. Because we're going to try and give you a little bit more on this channel now. We're going to try and give you more frequent podcasts. We don't quite know the format just yet as far as how long they're going to be, how often they're going to be, what day they're going to be, or anything like that. But we thought, you know what? Tuesday sounds good. Let's do that this week. And we've got a few things to talk about, thankfully, with last night's Monday Night Raw. And of course, some things outside the ring, as always. Those headlines are probably some of the juiciest ones that we like to talk about. So, yeah, how you doing, Rob?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm awake now.
Good. You're awake now. Yeah, we had a bit of a dilemma this morning. Both of us overslept our alarms, but hey, we got there in the end. Well, Rob slept longer than I did, so let me just put that one out there. I'm Scott, by the way. I didn't introduce myself, but yeah, Scott and Rob here for the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. And again, we're going to have a little bit of a podcast here, different to our usual ones. And you'll see from our headlines, we've got a few things to talk about, though, already. So, first of all, Rob, we touched on this quite a bit on our Money in the Bank podcast. Last podcast we did, which strangely wasn't that long ago, seeing as we're doing these extra ones now. But yeah, last one we did, of course, we were talking about Money in the Bank. And in that, of course, we were talking about some of the issues that we saw in that first match on that card, which involved a few sloppy botches. And I said when we did our review, you don't really want to single anyone out, but yeah, and when I first made my tweet on the night when I was live tweeting, I was like, yeah, that was awkward. I didn't really want to go into who, but then the rest of the wrestling world seemed to rip her apart, and it became a meme. Now, there are so many levels you can go with this, and I said it on that, again, review. I didn't want to kind of be too harsh or anything like that, but, I think it's fair to have criticism and point out issues. Obviously, we're talking about Shotzi Blackheart here, just Shotzi these days, it seems. But, yeah, she had a bit of a rough Money in the Bank. I won't go into it too much. Obviously, we've already discussed it. But since then, she's since released a statement. And you've got to think, why do you need to release a statement at something like this? Which is the sad kind of part of it for me, because you think about the state of the wrestling world and the way the fans are. It's not just in wrestling. It's all sorts of media. You see football players go through nightmares when simple things go wrong on the pitch. Don't get me wrong. I get annoyed when certain players do certain things. But, death threats and I hope your wife gets this horrible disease type thing. All the time. And it happens in the wrestling world as well. And I can only imagine the kind of abuse that Shotzi's got since that she feels like she needs to clear her name. And it's almost, you don't really have a real view of what the world actually thinks, right? Because I think the normal balanced person, hopefully we're two of those, would say, yeah, she botched, she messed up. I was saying it just felt uncomfortable. I felt bad for her. But it doesn't mean she's a terrible person or a terrible wrestler or should be fired, but she's getting those lunatics out there saying things like that anyway. Let's get to the statement that she's actually released. So here we go. Let's have a look. Can we see all this with that graphic down the bottom? There we go. Right. So firstly, she captured it. Happy 4th, suckers, because it was yesterday, the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to our American viewers out there. So the statement reads, there are 3 things I care about. And at the end of a match. Is everyone safe? Did everyone have fun? Did the crowd react? Nobody got hurt. We all had a blast, and the Vegas crowd was hot, hot, hot. I felt on top of the world after that match and was so excited to finally have my first hardcore match in over a year. I wouldn't have done anything I didn't practice or thought I couldn't do safely, but I'm not a wrestle robot. I'm human, and slips happen, especially in a chaotic, unpredictable ladder match. I can take a joke and laugh at myself. In brackets, one of the first things I said was I can't wait for see that spot on Botchamania, close brackets. But comments like, you should be fired, and other terrible things admittedly hit hard. I had to have a few friends wipe the tears off my face and slap some sense into me and remind me who the F I am. That being said, All my haters can suck my big, giant, hairy mangoes. Quite a lighthearted end to a statement that isn't that lighthearted, I would say, because, again, kind of mentions how she was basically brought to tears. Yeah, that's not great. What do you think of the statement and the fact she's had to do one in the first place?
I mean, she shouldn't have had to do one in the first place. I mean, things happen, as she said in the statement. She's a human, you know. Slips and trips and whatnot happen. I mean, if we're going just on that match that she was in, you can go way back to, you know, however many ladder matches and things have gone wrong and problems happened. Like, I think the thing is, the minute one issue happens and it's one person, if they make another mistake, they're the person that gets highlighted. And that's it continuously, no matter if they don't do anything else wrong, because they've done 2 errors. They're the person that's then highlighted, and it's all on them. And it takes a shine away from kind of not Liv winning the Money in the Bank, but takes a shine away from how good the match was towards the end. All right, errors happen, but as she said, it's unpredictable, it's fast, it's quick paced. That's the sort of thing that happens in that. I mean, if it was really smooth, great, but sometimes it shows you that errors happen, you know. And she said everyone was safe, the crowd enjoyed it. And she shouldn't have had to have made a blooming like an announcement like that. But you know, that's props to her for making the announcement. But I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it should have. She shouldn't even had to have done it. So the fact that she done it is quite frustrating. If you know what I mean.
No, I agree. And I think there's certain things in the statement. I'm just going to bring it up quickly again. Certain things in the statement that are worth highlighting. So firstly, the fact that she said she got the comments such as "you should be fired," ridiculous. And then, you know, she lighthearted. She seems like the kind of character that would make a joke out of it. You know, see that on Botchamania and all that. And I'm sure it will be. And there'll probably be a reference to this statement now. It's quite funny. A few positives I want to say, just as a weird wrestling fan from the era we grew up in. I love the fact she called it a hardcore match. I get what she's saying about, you know, we didn't do anything, we didn't practice and all that kind of stuff, which kind of is a bit of a confusing statement because I'd assume they wouldn't practice that much of the spots, but I guess she means the big ones, so maybe they did. That kind of takes shine away from me in some part, but as far as, you know, the magic and all that kind of thing, things being natural, but I don't think, you know, as much as I've been sticking up for her, I'm now going to go the other way. I don't think it was, as she put it, just, you know, one slip. Look, she acted like it was, you know, a slip. I don't know, maybe it's the wording she's using. She seems to kind of, I mean, it wasn't just a trip up the ladder and it wasn't just a slip on the ladder with Alexa. It was just a lot of clunkiness. And I said yesterday, like, sometimes when you make a mistake, it's hard to get out of it. I completely understand. Like, say she's human, like, it's fine. Like, it's not how dare you make a mistake. It is let's reference the mistake. Let's comment on the mistake. Let's not ignore the mistake because it's a part of the match that is, you know, in the match's kind of history now and folklore sort of thing. But, you know, we don't have to then go hard on someone and say she needs to retire. So, like you say, it's frustrating that she's had to do a statement, but I guess props to her in the first place because, you know, it does take some big, giant, hairy mangoes, as she put it, which, again, that's what I liked about the statement. Like, she put a nice twist on it. I do worry sometimes when these things come out that there's a little bit of delusion and misunderstanding why people are doing things, but it's hard when you've got so many different versions of the truth. You know, she's getting, you know, this kind of bombardment of hate. And then she's getting, you know, to counteract that, she's getting her colleagues probably, like she says, wiping away her tears and being like, don't worry about it. It really weren't that bad, which probably overly emphasizes being like, nothing's your fault. But there were mistakes there. We got to be honest, you know, like, so I'm just judging from an outsider, you know, that's probably not the best thing to do anyway. But I guess what I'm trying to say is a well-rounded statement with well-rounded opinions from every side that hopefully do squash some of the kind of ridiculousness from some of the wrestling fan base, but not to the degree that it silences all criticism, because that's not fair either. Because there's been a lot of memes now that come out of this, basically being like showing the botches and being like, apparently this was the fans' fault, and it's like I don't think that's what she's saying in that statement, but yeah. Anything else you want to say about this one before we move on?
Yeah, it's just, I just think like the minute fans get onto something, they jump on a bandwagon, and I get like making memes and stuff. Yeah, it's entertainment, but sometimes it's entertainment at someone else's expense.
Yeah.
And you know, like if the person, if it was, for example, a comedian or something like that, they would react to that and they'll take it either way because they're used to that. But as a wrestler, you know, they're putting on a show and putting a life online, and that's how you're reacting.
Well, it's that thing when it goes too far. You know, she's acknowledged the memes herself and said, even I said, that'd be a bunch of mania to kind of make yourself feel. But we've all made mistakes and gone, like, you know, tripped over and gone, whoa, you know, like made a real joke out of tripping because it's embarrassing sort of thing, you know, like, which I think is the equivalent to what she's done here. But yeah, it's like you say, it's just when it goes to that next step of just being really, really harsh and kind of like, none of that, like she's not a bad wrestler because of it. You know what I mean? Like, but she's hearing that for sure. And you know, we know what wrestling fans can be like online, but it's not just wrestling fans, it's anyone really. There are kind of these pockets within any kind of industry and fan base. So it is what it is. But with that being said, we'll move on to our next story. One Twitter story there. We're moving on to a much brighter Twitter story here from our man Big E, who's given us an update again yesterday, which says, update, ! My C1 isn't ossifying, in brackets forming bone, quite yet. The current plan is to get more scans at the 1 year mark and see how it's progressing. The great news is I feel tremendous and surgery is off the table. Now, the first thing to mention there is that he feels tremendous. I'm so happy to hear that, number one. And secondly, that surgery is off the table, which is incredible. Now, he's had kind of a strange injury in the sense that, well, it's a strange injury in the first place, the way it happened, what it was, how severe it was, how close it was to, as he mentioned before, paralysis, death, or stroke. Horrifying, especially you know, to anyone, but to a guy like Big E, who I think it is evident how much of a nice dude he is just from his TV, and obviously myself, I spent some time with him a few months ago interviewing him. Just such a nice guy. And it wasn't long after that this actually happened, so it was heartbreaking to see. But I'm glad to see he's doing better. And again, going back to the tweet itself, he says he doesn't need surgery. Surgery is off the table, and things are kind of progressing in a positive way. But again, I go back to just not that long ago, he was in a neck brace longer than he thought he was gonna. Things weren't progressing at the rate he would hoped. You know, he was releasing some update. I mean, credit to him. The man, you know, gave us an update straight away from his hospital bed. You know, like and he's kind of kept it going since then. You know, a few weeks ago there was that picture in his Instagram throwing away the neck brace, which was nice as well. So we've, you know, since then it has definitely got progressed in a positive way. But we had a few setbacks before we got here, and of course the journey isn't over. I don't want to kind of put downers on it, but there are possibilities that it kind of starts slowing down in progress soon. But yeah, thoughts on this update?
Yeah, man, as you said, it's great news for E. Obviously, and us as wrestling fans, one step closer to having, you know, New Day back all together again. But as you said, it's a long. I think any healing from anything is it can be a long road. You know, and you said like where is it? The scans. The current plan is to get more scans at the 1 year mark and see how it's progressing. Like, so are they saying that a year on from when it happened, and then they're going to see? Or is that scans from? Obviously, there's not a lot of stuff been made clear in that. I don't think he wants to. And I think he's done that so it doesn't provide a false hope.
Yeah, because it sounds like from that, oh man, like he'll be back in no time. But then when you've got that part of the Twitter, you know, obviously, I don't know if you noticed, guys, but I'm not quite into the medical field myself. I'm not exactly trained. But him saying, the scan a year from makes me worry, because does that mean he can't come back before the scan then, can he?
Exactly.
Like, or can he come back and like work, and then I think if it was another injury, maybe you could, and then it'd be like, we're going to check on it in a year to see how things are going, especially since you've been back wrestling for 2 months or something like that. But being a neck thing, surely the whole point in the scan is to see if you're ready to go back in the first place. So that is the only kind of downer for me, that, yeah, like you say, he's being a bit vague, but it does give us somewhat of a time frame here that the check, if he can wrestle again, seems to be coming in March, because he did it in March. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. And I think the thing is as well, as much as, and I think I said this when it first happened or just after, we love E. There we go. I'll come back. Yeah, we love E.
You went there. You went really silent. Yeah. I was like, yep. Okay.
Oh, it come up on my screen that we just had black screens. I was like, oh, I'll stop talking a sec.
You stopped, and I was like, okay, what's he gonna say? And then I was like, he's gone. I'm gonna have to carry on his point, and I don't even know what it was.
Yeah. No, so we love Big E. Obviously, you've had the pleasure of meeting and interviewing him. But when it's any injury, yes, heal up properly. But when it's a neck injury, it's so severe. Same with head injury, like concussions and stuff. It's so severe that I'd rather you take as much time as you possibly need and come back 100% than come back at 70%, 80%, and then that's it. Like, you've shortened your career. You know, you can still have the possibility of still being injured, and do you know what I mean? And obviously, we don't want that for anyone. So, like, okay, granted, yes, it's very vague on how long it's going to be, but take as much time as possibly needed and come back fully fit. I'd rather see that and then have a bigger pop when you come back.
Definitely. I mean, the risk is there always, but like you say, rushing back will not so much rushing, but like, I'm not saying that, you know, that he might come back a few months earlier than expected. I'm saying that even if it was me, I'd be petrified to come back straight away. And I don't want to put doubts in his head or anything like that. But it's like anything. If you break a bone, you know, break your leg, it's hard to walk in it and stuff like that. You know, it's hard to get used to it because your mind tells you, oh, be careful, even though you don't kind of need to anymore, and you can make more mistakes. Kind of what we were talking about the Shotzi thing earlier. If it's playing on your mind, you're not making more mistakes, put yourself at risk even further. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him back. The time frame, like say, if it sounds like what we're assuming there is that, well, that's just before Mania. That's a bit of a risk, really. Maybe it's more looking at a big thing like just after, maybe the Raw after Mania. You know, that'd be a nice little surprise, won't it? So because they've kind of
that'd be good.
Dead in the past few years by comparison to what they used to be. So maybe that would be quite fun to see, because then you don't have to pressure him into saying you've got a Mania match and only 2 weeks before he has the scan, it turns out he can't do it, or, you know, SummerSlam is a bit far away to wait after that. Who knows? Maybe a Raw after Mania return where he doesn't wrestle, but he's back on screen because, like, he knows he got the all clear 2 weeks ago, but still, that was only 2 weeks ago, sort of thing. But we'll see how it goes from here. Like I say, rushing back. I mean, look at all the countless wrestlers over the years that have had neck injuries and at different rates, come back at different rates, have different rates of injury. And you know, you think of Edge, obviously back now, thankfully, but of course had to retire because of his neck, and Kurt Angle and Sabu's horrible neck thing, probably closer to visually at least what Big E's one was. And you know, I mean, he's, pardon the pun, but he's good. He's got a good head, you know, on his shoulders, and I think he'll kind of be wise about these decisions. Really, he seems a very sensible person, and although the pressure probably will file in of like, oh man, like this will bring home like this is a dangerous thing for me to do anyway. How much time do I have left wrestling? But then on top of that, hopefully that pressure won't come. The other side of it is like, well, exactly. So you better get back quick, because then you damage the time. You know, it's worrying about not having those 6 months this side of the injury that could affect not having 5-10 years the other side of it. You know what I mean? Because you're panicking about that 6 months earlier. So completely agree with you, man. Hopefully he comes back stronger, and it's hopefully not too long, but long enough to make sure we're all comfortable and safe, and especially Big E, the man himself, because we want him to be happy and healthy.
Definitely.
That being said, I mentioned it just there, the interview I did with Big E. Might as well throw out a little plug for it there. Check it out on this channel. He talks about possibly bringing back the 5 count, something I think a lot of us missed from his time in NXT. It was just a lot of fun, and that dream match that gets spoken about so often against Goldberg, which is a match that he actually wants to happen. It's not just people saying big meaty men slapping meat. He's the one coming up with the big meaty men slapping meat phrase and all that good stuff. So check that out and hear what his thoughts are on that, and see again just what a lovely, lovely man Big E was. And as you can see from that graphic there, he was WWE champion at the time. Something I really, really enjoyed. Right. Okay, let's move into a little bit more, basically from Monday Night Raw. Some of the big stories coming out of that. Again, we mentioned it in our kind of a preview to what this stream is going to be about. The first one to talk about is Ciampa aligning with the Miz seemingly, and Miz kind of building on this on Twitter with the little handshake emoji, kind of showing that they're a team now, because Ciampa's been doing a lot of random things lately, and we mentioned it on the Money in the Bank recap, that is, or it might have been on the build-up show actually, that it's strange that he's just not done anything. Like, he's just not been on the PLE. He hasn't really, there's all the rumors about him joining Judgment Day, which I still think probably would have been a better fit for him, but now it seems like he's aligned himself with Miz. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I definitely think him being a part of the Judgment Day would have made more sense, because from a look perspective and stuff, I wouldn't see Ciampa and Miz together.
Yeah,
like visually. However, they are the sort of heels that would stay together, if you know what I mean. Like the way they like showcase themselves.
Yeah.
What slightly confuses me was after Miz attacked Logan Paul, he got a cheer. And I'm thinking, if he goes into this feud with Logan, because Logan has signed with WWE, if he goes into this feud with Logan Paul, surely Logan would be the heel in this, because he's more worldwide hated than the Miz would be. Yeah, so I was thinking the Miz would be the face. So I'm confused of what's going on and how that's going to... So if they've got to try and switch it, then that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because now you're switching Ciampa as well, which would be surely unintentional as well. So I don't think they will. I think as much as we have said, Logan generally is seen as a heel by the general public, and then by smart wrestling fans. And that's not me saying I don't like the guy or anything. He just became a heel persona after the things he did over the years, and I think he's redeemed himself in a lot of that, and definitely has grown up a lot in the past few years. And just from a wrestling point of view, there's a reason he's been signed. Yeah, like that WrestleMania match, let's not deny how good that was and how great performance it was. But yeah, the whole face heel dynamic is strange. I think Miz, so you're bound to get a few of those cheers basically by people that just still don't care. You know what I mean? I'm not convinced. Whereas I'm playing along. Like, I like to boo Miz and laugh about what he's saying and boo it. If I'm in the audience and Miz cusses out London, I will laugh boo. Where I'm like, how dare you? And like laugh with you next to me. That was funny. Boo, but I hate you. Like play along. Whereas with which I'm willing to do in this feud, basically. But I think it's going to be a struggle to get some of those other people round to playing along and cheering Logan Paul. So that's going to be a struggle there. But going back to the Ciampa thing itself, I think it's a strange one. But he's aligning himself with someone that's a big deal on the main roster, So you think over the years, people that have been with Miz, Alex Riley, who else have we had? Obviously Sandow, even in these teams with like Jericho and Big Show, of course they were bigger stars and before the Miz came along anyway. But still, Truth, incredible team. Now he's always done well with the people he's with, because I can't help but look and go, they don't fit. This ain't gonna be right. But I think we got to admit this ain't the Ciampa that brought him to the dance anymore, is it? Like he's not playing that Ciampa anymore. To some extent. Of course, there's still elements to it, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. Obviously, in that we haven't really mentioned, but he attacks AJ Styles. So I guess we're leaning towards that kind of thing. A possibility is rumors now of tag team matches at SummerSlam rather than a straight 1-on-1, which I don't like the idea of, because I do think Miz and Logan Paul is the marquee. Just do the marquee, but I guess it will help Logan Paul. Of course, Logan Paul was in a tag match in the first place, but I think there's enough time, and he's probably been training since, and the training he had pre-Mania, there's probably enough time to, and Miz get him through. If he's not exactly Daniel Bryan, is he? We all say he was great in that, just like Bad Bunny was great, just like Pat McAfee was great. It doesn't mean they're Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and Samoa Joe. It's not the same thing, but we can appreciate what it is. And I think that someone like Miz could get him through a singles match. And I hope that is going to be the case. But maybe they've got, cold feet with it. And that's why they've chucked Ciampa into this.
Yeah, I can definitely see if they are going to lead towards a tag team match now, obviously attacking AJ, Logan would align with AJ. Probably how you'll get him to turn face, I guess. and the build up to SummerSlam. And the good thing is, because Ciampa attacked AJ, there's kind of bad blood between AJ and Ciampa, and there's bad blood between Miz and Logan. So it makes sense to align them that way. And then that way, if they did respectfully go and do their single matches after, there's a build already, and it's already there. So it makes sense for that each guy to have someone else to go against. So I reckon they could probably do the tag and then go off to do a singles match against both of them after. That'll probably be how they'll do it. But yeah, I think another tag, I think is safer that way, I guess, because you can see where Logan is, and it covers him a little bit more, and keeping him with AJ Styles, and I mean, just having the opportunity to team with AJ, and then across from that ring is Miz and Ciampa, who are still great. Miz is a perfect case of a WWE wrestler. You can't ask for 3 better people to be kind of surrounded right at that time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like you say, it probably is a safer bet. I'm just thinking in the marquee. I'm thinking it probably looks better. Logan Paul 1-on-1 with the Miz, but hey,
yeah,
ain't like we didn't have him in a tag team previously anyway. Moving on to more Raw news. We had Theory and Lashley having a little bit of a kind of a scrap, and that basically come from Theory being a big mouth and saying, "Hey, I've just found out I'm going to face you again. We're going to get a rematch, and also on the same night I'm cashing in," which is quite a statement to make. We mentioned earlier last night even about Pat McAfee kind of not, I guess, spoiling it. He's saying, "Oh yeah, SummerSlam," and then now Theory straight out come and said it himself. Now you had a really great Theory, pun intended, in that recap show. So go back and listen to that. We won't dive into too much here, but we might even release it as a little clip. Who knows? But where you were basically saying about his age, and he did kind of mention on this, I'm the youngest Money in the Bank winner. And he was talking about he's going to cash in and he's going to become champ no matter what. And it makes sense at the end of Money in the Bank. We were talking as if the theory we had, go back and listen to it, Rob had, and we kind of just elaborated on it more. Gives him about 11 months to do what we hope he's going to, at least storyline gimmick-wise, plan to do. Not necessarily pull off, but plan to do. But they could do it within the next month. They could kind of hype it like that. It just won't be as much as we kind of hoped the story could have become. But anyway, if they do it in the next month at SummerSlam, whether or not he cashes in, actually does it or is successful or not, who knows? But firstly, what he has kind of got locked in here is the rematch for the US title. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you expected it to happen. If something like SummerSlam, you're going to kind of get the previous pay-per-view rematches to kill it off, and then start afresh after SummerSlam, leading up to like Survivor Series and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You expect that to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the next thing that we see is Ronda and Liv maybe going back for a rematch and something building from that. I don't know, but that's the sort of thing you would see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what happens in the match. It'll be not that I want to see Theory win the US Championship, but if he did win it back, and then he threatened to cash in as well. Could you imagine has the Money in the Bank, and then if he did win the Undisputed or however it's going to work, like he'd have 3 championships. Oh,
because even that, like he's saying he'll cash in and become Undisputed champion. We kind of, again, on the build-up show, we're kind of debating, what is this? What is going on? So it looks like it is one title, and that if he cashes in, he's cashing in for both titles as a combined one title. So it's just too confusing, man. I guess they can sow the seeds between them. If the commentators keep saying he's going to become the Undisputed champ if he cashes in, then that will tell us if his music hits, he's going after both titles, and it is what will be the case. But it's just such a confusing time. We kept saying it the other day, but they shot themselves in the foot with this storyline quite a bit. They could definitely save it, but it's a lot of work to do to save it. Again, we won't go into our thoughts on him winning the Money in the Bank. Check it out on our recap and review that we did the other day, and see what you think from that. But generally speaking, it, like you said, it makes sense he's going to go after the US title. It would be interesting to see if he won it. I don't think he's going to win it, but hey, that's not an early prediction. Not laying down our predictions just yet. That'll be on our predictions and preview episode of the podcast, hopefully in a few weeks' time. Anything else from Raw you want to touch on? I know Gunther attacked R-Truth, which is funny, man. I feel like someone listened to our recap and review at the Fed, because I said that exact same thing should have been a match on like a pre-show where Gunther is showing up, kicking someone's butt. Like, I don't know, R-Truth doesn't even have to be long. That's exactly what I said. And then it happens on Raw anyway.
Yeah, I know. I don't get as you said, it could have been on a pre-show. It could have been, it was a throwaway thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't need to happen on Raw. It could have just put that on the thing. He could have had him chasing for the 24/7, and then like R-Truth, that is, called Gunther a thing, build a quick feud, done. One and done match, and then that's it on the pre-show. That would have been easy, and also it made Gunther look more like a monster. You know, I mean, he looked brutal. I mean, the kick was huge that he done, and then followed by the big like power bomb. So, you know, if you're going to keep building him like that, then either put him in situations where he's going to keep destroying people, or put him in a feud. But if you don't want to put him in a feud yet, let him destroy people. If you don't want to do that, then what the hell are you doing? Like, showcase him, because he's a monster.
And you could argue, though, you know, technically still, I guess, a flagship show, Monday Night Raw, that's a showcase in itself. But maybe more so than a pre-show. I don't know, but I just feel like you could have done both. You know, you could have put him on. I know they did the whole July 4th. He was dressed up, you know, and all that kind of stuff added to the theme, and obviously probably annoyed the character of Gunther even more. But hey, it is what it is. Another thing, though, weirdly, that I feel like we're crying out for on PLEs, we keep saying it. They've gone and just done on a Raw, and I appreciate it for the Raw, and people seem to enjoy it. Was the kind of no holds barred, no DQ, whatever you want to call it, between Asuka and Becky Lynch, where it's just straight up like we're just gonna have, as Shotzi put it, a hardcore match, and it's not for a title, just beat each other up, and like that could have become a blow off at SummerSlam. That could have been, you know, it's a stipulation match, it's two massive stars without the title, like, and then put the title elsewhere. Like, this is what we've been crying out for, especially in the women's division, to do these kind of grudge matches and grudge feuds. And what better example of it that they just shoved on a Raw between two top stars that don't have the title, aren't in the title picture, and could definitely tell a story that they hate each other and have a stipulation match. And they've just put it on Raw.
Exactly.
Like, what?
I don't know. It makes sense. That would have been a perfect blow off, build up all the way through, and then have it at SummerSlam. But I mean, because it's only at the end of the month. They
ain't long, is it? Yeah. Like, I just wonder why they did it on Raw. Like, again, don't get me wrong, especially back in the Attitude Era when it was a lot more hardcore stuff. You'd have stuff like this, big matches on, but that was because what was coming in a few weeks' time at SummerSlam was even bigger. So unless we're going to get something bigger and better, non-title picture with these women, I don't know if they've just kind of wasted it, you know? So, but again, maybe, you know, we don't know what the plans are at the moment. Hopefully they are going to be doing something interesting like that. Maybe it'd just be a rematch, or I don't know.
I'd love to see it happen. If that's the case and they're going to do these matches and build up, then because it's a SummerSlam, it'll be the 20th anniversary of 2002, which was a great one. Maybe if they'd done like a thing and just a nod to the original TLC match and they had the women in it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be interesting. Cool. Obviously, the first one was at 2000 with Edge, Christian, the Hardys, and Dudleys. So doing something similar to that, but maybe it's in like single wrestlers going into, you know, 2 or 3 of them or something like that. That'd be quite a good moment.
Yeah, I mean, 2 or 3 would be good because we don't want to go into Money in the Bank levels of 7 people, like, and
even 4 of them. That's enough to then do a spot and then.
Because I thought, do they just do teams because they've got a tag title they need to kind of bring back anyway? But hey, that is real optimistic thinking, I think, on that part. But yeah, it would be good. Before we get out of here, you just mentioned there, actually, good timing. SummerSlam 2002, and we do plan to do a watch along on this channel for that very, very soon. We haven't got a date and a time organized just yet, but please subscribe and you'll kind of get notification for when that's going to be. And I'm sure we'll mention it in our other videos before then. If it's not the next one, who knows? But I'm sure they'll be coming up soon. Also, another one we'll be doing as well is SummerSlam 1992, being that it's the 30th anniversary of that great event. If you haven't already, check out our recap and review from the other night. There's still a lot of great topics that we've kind of gone over there that are still quite relevant because not much happened on Raw, even though we've managed to make a podcast out of some of it. So not much that's changed things anyway. So yeah, definitely go back and check that out if you haven't seen it already. Anyway, yeah, it's been really good, Rob. It's been strange doing this and not talking about directly about a PLE, but I've enjoyed it. And again, we don't know what this format's going to be, how often we're going to do it like this, what day, what time, or anything like that, which I know is not great for the old YouTube wizards. But hey, we're trying. We're just trying to give you more content however we can. And we'll hopefully be doing this more frequently. And let us know if you like this and if you want to see anything else from us on this channel, because we're doing the watch alongs because you requested them, for example. So we are definitely open to doing more on this channel. So I've been Scott. This one over here has been Rob, or Robney, as we christened him the other day. And we'll see you. We'll see you next time, whenever that shall be, for the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling Podcast. See you later.
Bye.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.